Make Peace with Nature is a syndicated public affairs presentation of this station dealing with solutions to problems of energy, conservation, and the environment. Today's program will be hosted by David Serber.
Hello, and welcome to Make Peace with Nature. In 2009, I had the pleasure to interview a distinguished American architect, Sean Hesse. Sean is with the Cincinnati-based firm Immersion Design. I should like to quote from a brief portion of my introduction to that interview. Today, an examination of the degree to which, as a nation and on a local basis, efforts are being made by architects, engineers, and interior designers to plan, construct, and retrofit commercial buildings and commercial building office spaces and living spaces with an eye to energy conservation and the control and reduction of greenhouse gases. Today it is a pleasure, a similar pleasure, to welcome to Make Peace with Nature one of the principals of Immersion Design, Chad Edwards. Chad has a bachelor's degree in architecture from the University of Cincinnati and is a member of the Greater Cincinnati Green Business Council. He is also president of the Board of Trustees of the Green Umbrella, a unique consortium of business, private sector, governmental, and nonprofit conservation groups which share a rational and total commitment to make the Greater Cincinnati area the nation's greenest place to live and work. Chad and Immersion Design play a key role in that goal and other important endeavors and accomplishments, as we shall see. More after this.
The views expressed on Make Peace with Nature are those of the participants and not necessarily those of this station or the program's underwriters.
As I say, we have today Chad Edwards with us. He is a principal of Immersion Design, a distinguished engineering and architectural firm located in Cincinnati. Pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you, David. It's good to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You saw your colleague's program from 2009. What grade would you give him?
I think he did really well. I'd give him an A.
Oh, an A?
Yeah.
Not a B plus, an A. What do you do at Immersion Design, and what's new there, please?
Wow. My particular role is the leader of what we call the learning market. And so that's the market that looks at higher education, at libraries and museums. And so my role is to lead that effort in terms of those particular client bases. I'm also the principal in charge of sustainability, although that's more just sort of a not really a formal title. We certainly have staff that we appreciate their sustainability knowledge as well, and we try not to have a top-down approach, but rather everybody having the acumen.
How many people do you have working for you?
We have 27 now.
Are they all architects?
We have architects, engineers, interior designers, planners, and then support staff as well.
Mm-hmm. And may I ask, just as an aside, what's the basis of the name Immersion?
So Immersion came, when we first started Immersion, we didn't have a name yet, and so we all gathered together at one person's house and didn't really want to use the principals' names as others may have. We wanted a name that would last beyond the original founders and something that would speak to the heart of what we do and how we do it. We looked to our design process, which is immersing ourselves in our clients' needs, immersing ourselves in the context of the site and the building and the typology, and then emerging out of that with a more strategic solution for our clients. Mm-hmm. And so by comparing immersion and emerge, we came up with Immersion.
Mm-hmm. Is it the case that major architectural firms are located in Cincinnati? One would think most of them would be in D.C. or in New York or London or Paris?
No, we actually have quite a few really good, solid architecture firms located here, headquartered here in Cincinnati. So I think our design talent here can compete at a national level. There's a lot of times where folks think you need to look beyond Cincinnati to find the so-called experts, but I think that there's a lot of firms here in town that are experts as well in their own right. And so you don't need to go to New York or Chicago.
Right. Later on in this segment, perhaps in the last segment, but maybe in this one, we'll show some excellent slides that you brought along.
Great.
But how is it that you were able to create an environment in your office of what you call collaborative work? I know that that's one of the things you stress. So I think later, not just right now, we will see a slide where it appears that everybody is sitting right next to everybody else in a cubicle. That seemed to me would be distracting as all hell.
Yeah, right. Well, it's we actually have 4 different types of workstations so that somebody can select what environment works best for them. And so the big table.
Well, in other words, let me stop you.
Yeah, sure.
So the people didn't want to sit all that close to one another so that they could reach across and touch other people. It looks to me like they could just reach around. We'll see that in the picture.
Sure.
So then you don't say no, take it or leave it, so they can have a private office or a separate cubicle.
We don't have private offices. We believe that the open environment is what best works for us. We recognize that some of our clients might want a mixture, but we wanted our space to look and operate the way that we work best. So we do have some cubicles which offer a little bit of sound protection, but they're still relatively open. Those are folks that are on the phone quite a bit. It's also for...
but excuse me, isn't that distracting? We'll see this picture. It looks to me like everybody in this lineup that we're going to look at could be listening on the conversation. I'm not trying to. I think what you're doing is great work. We both know that, or you wouldn't be in such demand. But it just seems odd.
The big table is not for everybody, that's for sure. But it seats 10. We have 27, and so the folks that are at the big table, it's like being at Thanksgiving dinner. And so there are times where it can get a little boisterous. There can be times where people are just sort of hunkered down and cranking on their work. For me, myself, when I am in a mode where I need to really focus and concentrate, I'll just put my headphones on. But what's really nice is when somebody's talking on the phone and speaking with maybe a vendor or a contractor, other people can hear that conversation, and so that helps other people grow and learn about the project. There are times where there's a project going on next to me that I'm not particularly involved in, and I'll overhear something that maybe I can interject and try to help that project along by making a certain suggestion. Certainly that's helped me. People have said, hey Chad, have you thought about this particular way of looking at it? And it just makes for a better project in the long run.
Right. So, now, you've managed to achieve the distinction of having the only, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, you have the only architectural and engineering firm whose offices are LEED certified in the entire world.
No.
Is that true, yes or no?
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
So we were the first architecture and engineering firm in the world to have a LEED Platinum office.
Isn't that the highest level of LEED certification?
Platinum is the highest level, yes.
What does it mean?
Well,
LEED is an acronym.
LEED is an acronym, and Andy Plugstead, that was on your show earlier, gave a really nice report of what that was. And so LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's one way to measure how sustainable a project is, whether it's a building or commercial interiors or even a neighborhood or a house. And there are 4 levels: certified, silver, gold, and platinum, so platinum being the best.
Who makes these decisions?
Well, the design team designs the building. They can submit the project to, earlier it was the U.S. Green Building Council, and then they created a new entity, GBCI, that overlooks the project and the documentation that we send in. During construction, there's documents that are gathered and submitted as well. And so then they look through that, through those templates, through those reports, to make sure that you're doing what you said that you've done.
Right. So is the theory that if you can build a space for your own workers to this level of environmental conservancy, if you will, then it follows that you are trained to carry that out for client projects? Is that
Sure.
the theory?
Not just the theory, but the fact, yes. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to go through a LEED Platinum experience, not just as designers, but also as owners, so that when other clients came to us, we could understand what it meant to be on the other side of the table. And so we looked at the LEED rating system, and there were a few credits that received some pushback. So for instance, there's a credit called Green Power where you can purchase carbon offsets. And so essentially the argument is that you can just buy that particular credit without really doing any real work on the project. So we wanted to make sure we hit LEED Platinum without that Green Power credit. Another one that was a concern was the bicycle rack credit, because the bicycle rack, you put that in and
So people come to their workplace at your office, they all ride bicycles?
Some do. We have one that's
So
fanatic.
just the rack itself doesn't count. You have to, you'd actually have to have people showing up in bicycles?
Well, that's one of the criticisms to LEED, is you can put the bicycle rack, put a shower inside, and still nobody commute with a bicycle, and you can still receive a point. So we decided to get LEED Platinum without that as well.
I see. So you took that out of the equation?
We took that out of the equation, and usually the other argument is, well, high levels of sustainability cost a lot more. So we really wanted to tackle that issue. So we built we designed and built our commercial interior space for under $27 a square foot, including furniture.
What does that mean in terms of other offices in Cincinnati?
Sure. So around that time, there were a few other design offices that were renovated, and that was in the range of 45 to 85. And so substantially less, reaching a higher level of sustainability. And since then, we've won 5 design awards. Not that design awards are necessarily the thing that we all shoot for, but it's nice that our peers recommended us and acknowledged our design.
So these desks and all those things were built with recycled material?
The big table, as you'll see in a little bit, is out of Plyboo, which is plywood made out of bamboo. We have some used furniture pieces. We do have a glass wall that was salvaged from a demolition project in Indiana. So the owner said, just go ahead and throw that away, and we said, well, we'll take it and reuse it. So it's a combination of reuse materials of some things old, some things new, some things recycled. We have a series of bookshelves that are made from a waste from sawdust from a lumber mill that was Ford Stewardship Council certified. So the process is sustainable. It's a waste product, and the binder has no added uroformaldehyde. So that particular product began to hit several of the metrics that we needed for LEED Platinum.
How do you heat and cool the building?
It's through a mechanical system that actually we were not able to, we could modify the ducts, but we couldn't modify the system itself because that was our landlord's.
Because you don't own the building?
Exactly. The lighting was something that we did have some control over, and so we reduced our lighting by 35% below code, but we have a lot of natural daylight coming in.
So you have a skylight?
We do not have a skylight. We're on the second floor of a 4-story building.
Where do you get all this light then?
It's through the windows. So we're surrounded on all sides by windows, and we have daylight sensors, so the lights automatically turn off when there's enough daylight coming in for us to do our work.
But the fact that you don't own the building, couldn't you adjust? You have some control over how cool it is or how warm it is in your space, don't you?
We have a programmable thermostat. Sure.
Okay. And do you mind my asking, what do you keep that at in the winter and the summer?
I think it's around 72 or 73.
Year round?
Not year round, in the winter.
So in the summer, you crank it down to 72?
In the winter, it's 72 or 73 around there, and I forget what we have it in the summer set at.
Okay. But are you able, then since you have no control over that other than what you do, then could you put the electric bill or what you were saving in the electric bill into the documentation to get this LEED Platinum certification?
There are different types of rating systems for LEED, and so one is a new building, and we'll see some examples of new buildings. The one that we pursued was called commercial interiors because we do not have control over the full building. We just have certain amounts of control over the space itself. And so under that system, if you don't have control of the mechanical systems, then it doesn't count against you. You can more or less take the HVAC out of the equation because you don't have control.
Okay, I'm afraid we have to stop for a break.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back.
The views expressed on Make Peace with Nature are those of the participants and not necessarily those of this station or the program's underwriters.
Today's guest is Chad Edwards, one of the principals of the Cincinnati-based engineering and design firm, architectural firm, Immersion Design. In a minute or two, at the pleasure and when the director is inclined to present the first slide, we're going to show 11 slides, which I think you will find to be of interest. Chad, please, can you see them?
Sure.
Just narrate those for us, please.
Sure. So this is actually our space. This is the big table.
Table about which we've just spoken.
Correct, yes.
Now, again, I mean no disrespect,
Yes,
but it looks
right.
like the people could just reach over and touch the other people, and you think that encourages the collaborative nature of your work.
Yes.
You know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I don't. I'm just
yeah.
asking.
Yeah, this is the space I go to work to every day.
And you sit at that table?
I sit at that table. And
Are you at
it
the
is-
head of the table?
I am not at the head of the table, no.
Okay, well, let's have the next slide, please.
But we do have principles, we have co-ops right there, so everybody can learn. You can see our sustainable facts that are there.
Who are these people, please?
So this is a project that we started. Architecture and engineering firms, whenever they are looking at products, product vendors will come in and give a presentation of their wares, and a lot of times they'll do this at lunchtime because they know that that's a break that we have during the day, and they'll provide us with lunch. And so we thought, well, we have jobs, we can afford our own lunch. So we developed a program where the dollars that they would spend on us for lunch, they donate to food banks.
Really?
And so through the course of our history, we've had over $3,700 donated to area food banks by us bringing our own lunch.
Good for you.
Yeah. And just to...
We have to go on to the next slide. I'm afraid.
Sure, yes. So just to highlight some of the volunteer efforts that we do, the Green Umbrella is one of the things that we really begin to focus on. And being the regional sustainability alliance, we found that there's a lot of value there in using our expertise. The Greater Cincinnati Green Business Council, which is made up of many Fortune 500 companies, invited us to be a member based on some of our experiences to be able to help them. And they have some toolkits that I think would be of interest to your viewers. The compost toolkit, an Energy Star, and soon to be coming out as a waste stream toolkit. This is a project that we did, a master plan for NASA down in New Orleans, and we recognized that some of the flooding after Katrina was caused by some of the reduction in the wetlands down there.
Yes.
And so one football field an hour is destroyed of wetlands down there. So when we were able to work on this master plan for them, we
What
brought
is this
back...
again?
It's a
I understand the concept of the wetlands buffering the tornado, but I can't. I'm nearsighted, and you're wearing your glasses. Are we looking at a building here?
So this is a master plan, and there's a large
So
gray...
This is not a structure we're looking at?
Well, it's many structures. It's a plan for where the structures
It's a
will
model.
go.
I don't understand at all. Is it a model?
Sure. It's a rendering, so it's a drawing.
It's a drawing.
And the large gray building that you see, that's actually 43 acres under one roof, so it's quite large. And so we developed an area that could be used to partner with aerospace technology businesses, bringing jobs back to the area, beginning to create an employment hub so that folks will be able to patronize eventually businesses outside of the fence.
All right, fine. I think I understand.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And what is this, please?
Sure. So this was a project that Human Nature, who I believe has been on your program before.
Joey Hood.
They invited us to participate in the Lick Run Watershed Master Plan, and our task was to look at sustainability guidelines for this. And this is along Queen City Boulevard. the worst CSO in MSD's territory. And so it's to take a lot of the stormwater off the grid. And that area is going to be transformed into a park-like environment that then the stormwater, most of the stormwater, can then enter into the Mill Creek without going
when will
through.
this be a reality and go beyond the planning stage?
They're actually preparing for it right now.
I see. All right, thank you.
And
where are these buildings, please?
So these are 4 buildings in Over the Rhine, and Immersion Design was part of a collaborative team led by the Over the Rhine Foundation and Graham Pape, a few others, Steve Hampton and Sanyog Rathod, Pinnacle Engineering. There were about 20 of us in total that looked at 4 buildings that were indicative of 90% of the building stock in Over the Rhine.
And these are those 4 buildings?
These are the 4 buildings, and it's looking at how do we combine the Ohio Historic Tax Credit and the city's LEED sustainability tax abatement, and be able to contribute to both on one project. So merging historic renovation and sustainability
All right,
together.
is it a fait accompli, or are these just something that you're going to be doing? Has this been done?
Because there were 4 buildings, some of the buildings have been have accomplished that. So the one on the far left is the Balmain, where Caldy's used to be, and that building's been completely renovated, and Park and Vine is in there now.
Good.
This next one is so learning off of that research project, taking that knowledge to Chatfield College. This is on the corner of Central and Liberty. So they purchased this collection of buildings. And they're renovating it for new space for their college. So this is a nonprofit college that does work tailoring towards the underprivileged, underserved in Over the Rhine. This next is an interior shot of that. So you can see that the green is the administration areas, and then the blue is some of the classrooms. There's also a second floor with classrooms, and there's some labs.
How many more slides do we have, by the way?
We just have 2 more.
All right, we'll have to move along, I'm afraid.
Certainly.
What is this beautiful place?
This is a LEED Gold core and shell. It's the VA clinic on Highland Avenue, which is right just down the street.
Very near where we are.
Yes. Yeah. So again, not that LEED has to be everything, but it's a good benchmark in terms of where you can go. And we were able to hit 17% below energy code on that building. And this next one is a 1930s hangar at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base that we transformed into a laboratory.
Really?
We added 3 floors inside that large hangar space.
You never know that was an airplane hangar.
And it was that's also a LEED
And when
Gold.
was it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful.
So renovations can be highly sustainable as well.
Sometimes I lose track of time. We all do. We all face 2 things, the mirror and the clock. But I want to make sure I get a couple of graphics in which tell people about how to watch the show and then how to get a hold of you.
Sure, certainly.
So may we see those graphics, please? Those who wish to watch the program at a convenient time anywhere that there is internet, which is just about everywhere in the world, simply type in makepeacewithnature as one word.org. Then you will be led to, it'd be easy to follow, very simple to follow. It couldn't be easier. And then you can watch any of the last 90 shows in high def, and that's fine. Now, the next slide will tell people how to get to immersion design, and that is simply immersion, not immersion, but immersiondesign.com. What will they find when they go to your website?
Well, they'll find more of our portfolio pieces. They'll also find a little bio about each of the staff members, and then they can just poke around, and if they find something exciting, give us a call.
We just have a minute or so left. What's on the drawing board? That you can talk about. I know you have confidentiality agreements with people.
Sure. So there are 2 projects that are really pretty exciting for me in particular. One is the renovation for LAD, which stands for Living Arrangements for the Developmentally Disabled. And so they have a master plan that we help them with, and then a series of renovation projects. That's near and dear to my heart. And then another one pretty exciting is the District 3 police station. It's going to be a new building on the west side of town, which is in my neighborhood as well. And so we're targeting net zero energy.
How convenient for you. You're going to have your own police station.
That's right. So we're targeting net zero energy and LEED Platinum for that one as well.
Zero energy, mean it'll be off the grid? They won't pay any electric bill?
It won't be off the grid. We'll use the grid as a bank, but they'll be able to provide enough power throughout the year that they would
Where
utilize.
do they get the power? Solar panels?
Solar panels.
So the net overall utility bill will be, would be zero? But the sun doesn't shine at night.
Right.
So they'll have to be on the grid at night, won't they?
Well, we have enough. Well, yes, they will have to be on the grid at night, and so, like I said, they'll create enough power throughout the year that they would use throughout the year. So during the day, they'll bank it back to the grid, and then at night they'll pull it back.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you so much.
We'll
David.
see you next week.
Great conversation.
Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much. And as always, thanks to all of you for taking the time to watch. Please watch next week.